Hey everyone, Fini here. Welcome back to my channel. Today with a book review. I'm really excited to be sharing this book with you, which is Where Shadows Lie by Allegra Pescatore. And I'm sorry about the glare. I'm trying, but for whatever reason. Here, this is the book. This is the book. This is part of a book tour by Escapist Book Tours, which is a really great organization, for the lack of a better term, who enables indie authors, but in general any author, to sign up. They organize a bunch of booktubers, bookstagrammers, and whatnot, and they all review the book at a certain date or throughout a certain week. And this week it's, well, again, Where Shadows Lie from Allegra Pescatore. And I'm really excited about this one because I actually bought the ebook, and then a day or two later I saw that they were looking for people reading the book as part of the tour, so I signed up. So I had the ebook already, which you can see here, which has the current cover of the book, and then they sent me the paperback version. So Allegra actually sent me her paperback, which is the original cover of the book, and I'm super excited about that. So Allegra, thank you so much, especially because this has now become definitely a favorite of mine. The review itself is spoiler-free because I think there are a lot of things in here, especially things like the magic system, that I want you to discover on your own without me telling you everything or without describing it. Because I thought the part of, so the discovery and understanding how the magic system works, that part was really part of the enjoyment for me. Let's talk about Allegra Pescatore's Where Shadows Lie. This is the first book in a 3-book series, at least as far as I know as of now. It's going to be a trilogy. The series is called The Last Gift. And guess what? I have book 2 already here, which I have to consume soon after I did all of this. The book itself, the first book, is about a kingdom in uproar, a king that doesn't really love his people, and a rebellion who's trying to change all of that. In the middle of it, you have gods trying to make sure that everything plays out the way they want. And then you have our main character, our heroine, Eleanor, who is being kidnapped by the rebellion during an attack at the king where they were trying to crown the chosen one, which didn't happen. And instead they ended up kidnapping Eleanor, who is the sister of the chosen one. Eleanor is dealing with kind of the aftermath of a childhood sickness. She has difficulties walking and running fast. She deals with constant pain in her legs. And amidst that rapidly changing world that she now all of a sudden is thrown in, she has to figure out who she can trust and what she should do to make sure that, you know, no one gets hurt, essentially. So Where Shadows Lie is a fast-paced modern fantasy that completely kept me on the edge of my seat throughout the 500 pages that this book is. And then also dragons. Let's talk a little bit about world building and characters. The world Where Shadows Lie is set in is pretty close to our own. While you have castles and royalty, you also have deserts and tropical islands, just in general regions with a huge variety of cultures. There are elements of a magical school, and then there are also elements of magical technology. I don't know if that's the right word. It's not electricity or anything. It's things like showers and light being powered by magic. The magic system is one of those things that I want you to discover on your own. It is a little bit nerdy and geeky, and I really enjoyed figuring out how the things work. It is a bit more complex, but there's a really great glossary at the end of the book that helps you keep things straight and how they interact with each other. It also is a magic system with consequences, which I really like. I truly enjoy books where magic is not just freely given, but you have to do something in order to, you know, use it. The characters are all young adults, so you follow them along as they kind of grow up and, you know, make mistakes, are their messy selves, and learn from the mistakes that they're making. Our main character, Eleanor, is definitely one of those really strong female characters that suffers from the after effects from her childhood illness. And despite that, or maybe because of that, I don't know, she is really feisty. And it is great to see her learn all the things that she needs to learn in order to resolve the situation that she is in. And it is really great to see her grow up as part of that and become a really strong self. She is surrounded by an amazing cast of characters. There's so many. I'm not going into detail into into all of those. But 3 that I really liked is one, her Joanna. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing this right, but it's essentially her guardian who was with her from birth. He is protecting her, and he is now realizing that he can't protect her at all times. So that is a really interesting dynamic between the two. Then her female lover, who tries to be the voice of Eleanor because someone has to be in this kingdom. And then there's one very swoon-worthy. We don't know yet. Is he a friend? Is he an enemy? Can she trust him? You have to read the book to figure out, but I promise you, it is going to be very enjoyable to follow this character along. Allegra really created a great inclusive world that feels natural because of the more modern way she approached that fantasy story and the fantasy world. Which kind of gets me into the writing style. So as I said, the writing is more modern. So instead of kind of medieval inspired language, you have a lot of swearing. And just like the conversations are like we would have conversations together. Yes, of course, there are fantasy elements and specific words that she added to the world. Again, thanks for the glossary. It comes in really handy. But overall, just the interactions and the way she explains everything and reveals all the things that you need to know is written in a more modern language, which I think works actually really well in this book because of her inclusiveness of, so many things in the book. I feel it makes more sense to write it this way. You would probably like this book if you like political intrigue, if you like dragons, if you like meddling gods, and if you like a modern approach on fantasy that draws in everything from that colorful world that we live in to make it a really rich experience that also feels natural. So it never, in my opinion, it never felt forced or like, hey, I need to put in a diverse character here for marketing reasons. You probably wouldn't like it as much if you are someone who prefers traditional fantasy with grown-up adults that are very well evolved as adults already. Because we're following a younger cast, it is messy at times, and you see them struggling and you see them making mistakes. But that, for me, adds to the uniqueness of the book and to just making those characters more lovable. There's a little, like a teensy weensy bit of smut in there that you can just go over if you don't like this stuff. I remember one scene. It's not a love-heavy book, but there are love relationships as part of the general story and as part of how the characters connect. That sounds really weird, but when you read it, you know what I mean. Personal opinion, if you haven't figured this out by now, I really love this book. I flew through it. I love the characters. I love following along Eleanor and Damon, who is that swoon-worthy character that I was talking about. And just learning with Eleanor what is actually happening in the world, like who's betraying whom and who's playing whom. There's a lot of really great intrigue woven into this story that some of that is where you're like, oh yeah, I kind of saw that coming, and some of it not necessarily. And then I'm just a sucker for meddling gods. I love every time there's a book where you have gods trying to play their figures around, and that was just really, really well done. So I really loved that whole concept around it. And then at the end, the reveal of more around the gods. Yeah, I really like that. So I cannot wait to read book 2. I cannot wait to understand where this is going. One thing to note though, while I really would love to jump into book 2, book 3 is coming out in July. So I'm trying to time it a bit better so I can, get closer to the launch date of book 3. But anyway, the other thing that I want to mention, the reason why this book got onto my radar is that chronic pain, main character with disability trope. I don't know if you could call it trope or just inclusion. While I can't speak to how realistic she covered the topic around chronic pain, I found it interesting because I have a mother who deals with chronic pain. So it was just a topic I'm interested in to see with what do characters go through when they are in this situation and how do they live their life. But it was definitely an integral part of the story. It was not just oh, she has chronic pain and then never talked about. It was really throughout the book, you heard where she struggled, at which times and why, and it was talked through really nicely, I thought. One last note, what I thought was interesting, if you've been watching any of my other videos, you know that I'm a huge fan of the Green Rider series from Kristen Britton, and the main character Eleanor here in this book reminded me actually a lot of Kerrigan in the Green Rider series. Both are thrown into a situation that they didn't know existed. Both have to figure out how to deal with that right now. And both are feisty, strong female characters that just figure out their way, and you follow them along as they make mistakes, as they learn. They are not perfect from the get-go with the stuff that they are faced with, right? They are making mistakes, and that's what I really, really love about both of those books, that you see that they are characters with flaws and with things that they just have to, well, figure out. The huge difference, though, is the writing style. Kristen Britton's writing style is more towards the traditional fantasy genre, whereas this, as I said, really is a more modern, nowadays type writing, dialogue, conversations, etc. So I hope that sounded interesting for you and you're giving Where Shadows Lie a try. Definitely also go check out the general Escapist Book Tour, because there are a couple of other bookstagrammers and book bloggers and whatnot that are talking about this book, that are reviewing it, so you can get some other opinions. I put the links down below to the Escapist social media, Escapist Book Tour social media, and then from there you find all the other bookstagrammers and book bloggers and blah 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 blah. Book lovers, let's just keep it simple. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining. I hope you enjoyed my book review of Where Shadows Lie by Allegra Pescatore. And then I hope you have a great rest of your day and that I see you soon with my next video. Bye.